In a town that appears on no official map, a reclusive cartographer discovers that some places exist only for those who have lost something important. When a stranger arrives asking for directions to a place that should not exist, the cartographer must decide whether some losses are meant to be found, or finally let go. The town of Greybridge was easiest to find by accident. Travelers reached it when they took the wrong turn at dusk, or followed a river too long, or trusted a memory more than a signpost. Official maps left it blank, as if the land itself had politely declined to be recorded. That suited Elias Rowe just fine. Elias was the town's cartographer, though few people ever asked him for maps. He lived above his workshop on Narrow Street, where the windows rattled when the wind came off the moor. Inside, the walls were covered with parchment, maps of roads that no longer existed, bridges that had collapsed, villages that had emptied out and faded into grass. He did not make maps of what was there. He made maps of what had been lost. Every morning, Elias brewed strong tea and sat at his white oak desk. He sharpened his pencils with careful strokes, as if the act itself required respect. Then he waited. Some days, no one came. Other days, someone knocked softly, like they were afraid the door might refuse them. They always carried loss with them. A brother who vanished in the war. A home taken by the sea. A name they no longer answered to. Elias never asked for payment. He only asked them to describe what they were missing, in as much detail as they could bear. As they spoke, his hand moved. The map would appear, not exactly as it was, but as it felt. Distances bent around grief. Paths narrowed where hope had worn thin. And when the map was finished, Elias handed it over with a warning he had memorized long ago. "This map will show you where it belongs," he said. "Not whether you should go." Most people left Greybridge the same day. Some returned weeks later, quiet and changed. Others never came back at all. Elias kept no record of which. One evening, as fog rolled in thick as wool, a stranger arrived. She did not knock. She stood in the doorway until Elias noticed her reflection in the darkened window. She was tall, wrapped in a travel-stained coat, her hair threaded with silver despite her young face. "I need a map," she said. Elias gestured to the chair across from him. "What have you lost?" She hesitated. "A place." He paused, pencil hovering. "Can you be more specific?" "It's a valley," she said slowly. "I grew up there. I left, and when I tried to return, it was gone. Not destroyed. Just absent. No one remembers it but me." Elias felt a tightening in his chest. He had heard variations of this before, but something in her voice, steady, but frayed at the edges, made him listen more carefully. "What was the valley called?" he asked. She met his eyes. "Greybridge." The room went very still. "That's not possible," Elias said, too quickly. She tilted her head. "That's what they all say." Elias stood and crossed to the window, looking out at Narrow Street, at the familiar curve of stone and shadow. His town. His refuge. The place he had come to after everything else had been taken from him. "I came here 20 years ago," he said. "It's always been Greybridge." She shook her head. "No. It was Greybridge." Past tense. Elias returned to his desk. His hands trembled as he reached for fresh parchment. "Tell me about the valley." As she spoke, memories stirred, things he had buried beneath years of careful solitude. A river that once ran brighter. Laughter echoing from a market square now perpetually quiet. A woman with ink-stained fingers who had loved him fiercely and briefly. His pencil moved without conscious thought. The map that emerged was unlike any he had drawn before. It showed Greybridge not as it was, but as it had been layered over time, like a palimpsest of longing. Streets overlapped. Buildings faded in and out. At the center, marked in careful script, was his workshop. "This map doesn't lead away," the woman said softly. "It leads through." Elias swallowed. "I never meant to hide it." "I know," she said. "You stayed. You remembered. That was enough to anchor it, for a while." "For a while." His voice cracked. She reached into her coat and placed something on the desk. An old compass, its glass cracked, the needle spinning uselessly. "The town can't stay lost forever," she said. "It either returns to the world, or it finishes disappearing. You're the last fixed point." Elias looked around the workshop. At the maps. At the quiet life he had built from absence. "What happens if I leave?" he asked. She smiled sadly. "Then Greybridge becomes what it was always becoming. A memory that no one quite trusts. And if I stay, then you let it go, she said. Really let it go. The fog outside thickened, pressing against the windows like a held breath. Elias thought of all the people who had come to him seeking what they had lost, and how carefully he had avoided his own grief, disguising it as a profession. He folded the map and slid it across the desk to her. Give this to the road, he said. Let the world remember. She nodded, eyes bright. And you? Elias took his coat from the hook by the door. For the first time in years, he did not feel the weight of it. I think, he said, turning down the lamp, I'll see where the wrong turn leads. When Elias stepped outside, Graybridge felt lighter, as if the stones themselves were exhaling. The fog thinned. Somewhere, far off, a road straightened, and a valley quietly returned to the maps of the world, not as a secret, but as a place where loss had finally been named and released.